I saw Caden's video and I was like, this is interesting. And I saw Dylan's video and I was like, this is interesting. And then I was like, maybe I should, I want to talk to them. Maybe I could get them to talk to each other. I don't, like, for clickbait's sake, I want to call this a debate, but I don't think
Yeah,
this
yeah.
is really a debate.
No.
Like, I think you
Yeah.
essentially think the same thing. You just have definitions that need clarified. And you're both thinking in a way that I haven't really seen anybody talk about on YouTube or whatever in a polished way. So I mostly just want to hear you guys dialogue about the progression of getting better at 3x3 and look ahead and prediction and all of that.
Yeah.
I think a good place to start would be if you could both kind of explain the crux of what you said, knowing that the other guy is on the call with you. And like you have to nuance it. So Caden, what was the main point of that video you uploaded a few days ago? The look ahead is a dying skill video. Like summarize it in 1 to 2 minutes.
Oh, yeah. I feel like it's pretty simple. Prediction is just like the most important skill when it comes to top level solving, and basically everything that comes from all the other skills that come from top level solving is a result of good prediction, right? Good solutions can come from good prediction. Good turning can come from good prediction, and just prediction is one of the most important skills to practice. I don't think it's the only skill to practice. To clarify that, I think that's kind of how I portrayed it in my video that I posted. Another one is in that video I was very extreme with my claims too, where I was like, it's the only skill. Of course there's other skills to top level 3x3 solving. I just think it's a very underlooked skill. Like, a lot of people aren't practicing prediction, so I think that's why I really emphasized it very hugely. But I do believe prediction is one of the most important skills alongside with turning.
Okay. And then after that video, you uploaded something, Dylan. What were the main things you were trying to explain in your video?
Well, I guess the title was what had me, because I was just like, look ahead is not dying. Look ahead is like the precursor to getting good prediction, and like I do agree with Kaden. Like, yes, prediction is like the end all like goal. Like, we should be predicting the whole solve eventually. Like, we should be one looking. But yeah, there was just a lot of like like hyperbole, I guess, and it was like, saying like turning, I think is the turning capability is like the most important skill. It is going to be the ultimate limiting factor for people long term. So yeah, I don't think prediction is the only thing to practice, but like, yeah, look ahead is very important as well, especially for people like not like literally top 10 in the world.
So, do you guys think that inspection and look ahead are separate skills? At what point do they become separate? Like, for early solvers, inspection isn't really about look ahead. It's just planning a few moves. But at a high level, what Caden is talking about is how the practice of inspecting and predicting is kind of replacing the skill of look ahead. Where does the line start to get blurry? Is it like sub 20, sub 15? Like, what skills blur the line, and at what speed does that line start to get blurry, do you guys think?
Yeah, I'll go first. I think so. Dylan mentioned this in his video, which I didn't mention this in mine, but I agree with. Look ahead is what is like the stepping stone to good prediction, right? And you got to practice good look ahead first. I didn't mention this in my video, which is probably why I got a lot of hate on it. People are like, oh, you think look ahead sucks. And also, the titling of that video, let's be honest, it was for views, right? People are like, look at this dying skill, instantly click.
It was a good click. It was a good title.
Yeah,
I'll give you
yeah.
that.
So lots of people were like, "Oh, I have to watch this now," which is perfect. That's what I wanted. But yeah, I think it's a stepping stone to a better prediction. I think the line gets blurry around I would say sub 12 probably. For me, it was sub 12. For some people, it's sub 10. It just really depends, because I didn't have good look ahead at sub 12. So I needed better prediction to cope with my poor look ahead. Some people have better look ahead and then they don't learn how to predict. But then that comes back to bite them, because then they try to get faster, but they can't predict first pair. So then they hit a wall. And I think there is a wall that you hit that you can't improve without planning first pair, right? So I would say between sub 12 and sub 10 is that wall and that blurry zone, basically.
Yeah, so the way I think about it in terms of like inspection depth, so when I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking about it not in like the the first pair context because there's like a few different skills revolved around inspection. So for me, it's like literally tracking pieces, right? When you do look ahead practice and you understand, like when I talk about like these base triggers, they are specifically F2L based triggers. These are not triggers that typically show up in like a cross context. So for cross plus one, you need like I showed you that like website whenever we had our podcast, Brandon, and like that is good for like non F2L piece movements, and that you need to learn, and that is even important like seeing past cross plus one because the where like your second pair pieces are going to end up is typically a result of non F2L triggers, but then the prediction of that from like first pair to second pair is a result of your look ahead prediction. So for me, like I think it gets muddy where like look ahead and like inspection depth get converged is like super top level, like probably like sub 7. But like just getting basic tracking skills, like that is just how you see first pair. Some people just do that over time, and this is what I was saying. Some people just recognize the patterns and like they just understand it. But yeah, I don't think it gets like really blurry until like like you're seeing past cross plus one.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that changes with solving style? So Caden is talking about how he naturally had poor look ahead, so he learned a prediction to make up for it, which I empathize with that because that's where I'm at right now. Do you think that what you just said is how people should progress, but some people don't because of style? Or is what you just said like the correct way to do it no matter what, and you should fix your look ahead so that's kind of how your skill progression works?
Well, I mean, yeah, you just don't want to like super hard min max either of these things. I don't think the style really matters. Like, I don't like, there are some people that I've coached that like average 12, and I'm like, yeah, like, you should start looking at cross plus one now because like your cross F12 transition is like your biggest time loss. So yeah, it depends on the person where like certain skills need to come into play. Like, there's not like a one size fits all answer. But yeah, like no one sub 10 should like not be predicting first pair. That's crazy. Like at that point you should already be doing that. But I'm not going to say like any one way is the only way to go about it. Like you can get to the same end goal a lot of different ways, but I would generally say like look ahead first, then do first pair, build up your look ahead, inspect like your look ahead transition from first pair to second pair, and then in doing so like work on tracking after and then get the second pair, and then do the same thing. Like once you can do second pair, make sure your transition to third pair is good, so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm. Caden, thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with that. What Dylan said about like one size fits all, I think it's very different, right? There's a lot of different people who have different approaches, right? Like as you said, Brandon, your look ahead wasn't naturally as good, especially with mine, so you had to learn prediction. Whereas what Dylan said, sometimes your look ahead will slowly just fade into first pair prediction. I have a buddy of mine, and he averages sub 7, and he doesn't really remember practicing predicting first pair. He just would look ahead from cross to cross plus one, and then slowly over time, he just had a better general idea of where that piece would end up, cross plus one, to where he's just able to do it. But he also says sometimes where he just like doesn't predict first pair and then just goes and it's a sub 7 just because insane look ahead. So yeah, it's just it varies from person to person for sure. So you can't give one size fits all answer.
At what point do you start thinking about last layer prediction or last layer look ahead? For context, I'm using the word prediction to mean you look at something and you know what comes next. And I'm using look ahead to mean you're watching pieces, and then as you track, you can kind of sense what comes next. Maddie talked to me about how I wish I had, like, the only thing that matters is F2L, the last layer, look ahead. Caden, you talked about how the ZBLS, ZBLL look ahead is like the main thing that will be a limiter. When do you guys think that becomes something important to practice? And what are the sub skills contained in looking ahead to last layer and within last layer?
Yeah, I think that If it's your bottleneck, that's what you should focus on. A lot of time, your bottleneck is usually your cross to F2L transition or just how fast you can do your F2L. If you're getting to the point where your last layer is slowing you down, which a lot of people don't get to that point until like sub 8 or sub 7, then that's when you need a focus hit. A lot of these skills will come naturally over time, right? Like you'll just start to look ahead into your last layer. But let's say you're averaging like sub 8 and your cross to F2L transition's good, your F2L is decent, you have good look ahead, and then you get to last layer and you're just pausing for an eternity, then that's when you should focus on trying to build up that look head. And that's when you can do last lot to last layer training, where you just do solves like that. And that will build up the skills to look ahead into it. And then over time, your look ahead, we'll just say look ahead, you'll get more confident in your look ahead. And that's when I would say the confidence in look ahead is when it becomes prediction, right? If I have a pair where it's like something like this, I'm like always able to predict the OLO if I just look at it for like 1 to 2 seconds, right? That's prediction, not just look ahead, right? And that's something that came over time. But in the past, I wasn't able to predict that. I just looked ahead into it. So I would say around sub 8 is when well, it just depends on the solver, right? If their bottleneck is last layer, then you should focus on it. But if not, focus on your F2L.
I think like you should start looking ahead into OLL once like you can look ahead during F2L. Because when you're on last pair, what are you looking ahead into otherwise, right? Like the whole point of doing solves is to build pattern recognition. If you're just inserting last pair, not thinking about the OLL at all, then you're never getting like you're not getting training data. You're never going to learn anything new. And that's the problem with like a lot of people where they just mindlessly do solves. But you should always be guessing what comes next and then getting yes no confirmation until you eventually lead into prediction. So I would say like start looking ahead when you're able to look ahead like into OLL, and then same thing into PLL. Like there's no reason not to be doing it, because what else are you going to look at? So yeah, I mean, I don't think there's like a time barrier. Just like as soon as you're comfortable and look ahead, like you need to start getting data as soon as possible so you get prediction.
Yeah. So if someone in your comments says I'm 13 and I average 25 and I use the GAN 6, like they give one of these stock comments about like give me advice to improve. What advice would you give in general to somebody who averages like 25 to get better at look ahead? Should they think about look ahead, or what do you think?
No.
Yeah, or I'm not saying to do that. Don't focus on look ahead if you average 25. But you go, Dylan. What are your thoughts?
No, you don't need to work on look ahead. Like pretty much, like I mean, it kind of depends on turning as well, like what your natural turning ability is, and also just like how long your pauses are between pairs when you're not looking ahead. But there's no point in like learning the look ahead for your pairs if your pairs suck. So priority number 1 is make sure that like all your solutions are solid, because you need to build your intuition from that as soon as possible. Again, like I was saying, so that way the prediction comes quicker. Yeah, and then once you do that, like I mean, if your solutions like are not amazing, like you can try focusing on not looking at the thing you're doing, but that's hard when your pair solutions, you're not confident in them, or like they're not great or hard to look ahead into.
Yeah. Caden, would your advice change if this person averages 15? So let's assume that basic pair efficiency is a little bit better,
Okay. Yeah, definitely. Because I was going to say the same thing as Dylan. If you're averaging 25, it's most likely because your pairs suck. And that means they're doing them in too many moves. If they're averaging 15, let's assume if they average 15 and they know all the correct pair solutions, that means they're pausing too long in between pairs. So that's when you could start getting to the point where you're looking ahead. I wouldn't say full look at like that's your number 1 priority, because another thing is if they have great pairs and they're averaging 15, that's probably because their turning's a little bit too slow. So I would have them speed up their turning a bit, and their other bottleneck could be their cross. Their cross could suck. So yeah, probably focus on those. But if they're still averaging 15, that means they're pausing for too long. And yeah, probably start focusing on look ahead to that point. But for most people, you don't even have to practice look ahead till you're averaging like closer to sub 12. But again, it's from person to person. It varies a lot.
Okay. So once somebody is getting to that sub 12, solutions are good, you need to work on look ahead. what's your advice at that point, Dylan? Like, okay, now you need to develop this look ahead skill that is the precursor to prediction. What are kind of the steps for somebody who's like, I average 11. I want to get down to like 9 or 8. You're not going to tell them go start drilling prediction according to like the video you made.
No.
What are the next steps for them?
Well, the thing is, people who are like capable of looking ahead just don't do it, right? Like, you feasibly could, but you're too lazy to like push your brain to do it every single time. So I talked about this in my video, but like, learn the base triggers first. You need to have a solid understanding of those base triggers, because this is like slightly just like, instead of brute force doing solves or like trying to look ahead and then just like trying to see where stuff ends up, you can prime your brain to say like, okay, I can have a more solid idea of where this is going to end up because I've studied these triggers already. Everything is going to, like, almost every single F12 pair ends up passing through one of those 3 triggers in every single slot. So if you're comfortable with those, then you can pretty much always look ahead perfectly, assuming that you're consciously ignoring the thing you're doing, actively tracking the next thing. If you can't actively track your next thing before you finish your current pair, you need to turn slower on your current pair. Like, a lot of people get the idea you should only turn at like 1 speed, but no, like, varying turn speed depending on how easy something is coming up is extremely important, because ultimately we're trying to minimize pauses, not like turn 1 speed the whole solve. But
Okay. So learn the base triggers, which primes your brain to do look ahead. Vary your turn speed so that you can, and then just don't be lazy and actually do it.
actively ignore the thing you're doing. Like, and then also just like doing solves, right? You get an understanding of like, I like have started like just thinking about the idea of like a look ahead flow chart. Like, where should you be looking at all times? Because a lot of people are like, well, I'm not looking at the thing I'm doing, but I can't see what's coming next. And what you should look in the top layer. Also, a lot of people have blind spots on like backside corners specifically, and that's something that's also just going to come with solves. You can do intentional stuff to figure it out, but yeah, it's just going to help if you just do solves, mainly conscious solves. But yeah, like, look in the top layer for 2 pieces that match. If that doesn't exist, then you extend your search to the front 2 slots, assuming that they're open. And then if there's no match there, then you know it's in the back slot. Like, that is something that you will just learn over time, but really laying it out formulaically of like, I look here, 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 it's going to help out a ton. And then knowing like, if my front 2 slots aren't solved, I shouldn't look there, right? I should instantly be thinking about, if there's not 2 pieces in the top, I need to be looking in the back. And like, you can do this just by like getting an understanding over time, but laying it out in that way, I think, gives people a better idea of where they should be looking, and then it makes their look ahead more consistent.
Okay. So, Caden, you were the one going into this that was super, super strong on learn prediction.
Yeah.
Given what we're talking about now, at what point do you think that should become the main focus? Assuming look ahead is still important, assuming base look ahead skills are learned, what do you think would be an average range for somebody where it's like, now shift into really, really, really digging into good X crosses and prediction?
Yeah. So I guess I would say there's 2 different things, right? There's inspection and there's prediction. People think those are the same thing, but prediction happens in the F12, because what Dylan just explained, where you set up a base trigger, that's prediction. Like, that is also look ahead, but I would say that's more prediction than look ahead, because from there you're figuring out for sure what, you're predicting what's coming next instead of looking ahead. Because I would say look ahead is looking for what's next while you're turning. But if you're predicting, you can just look at the cube and visualize what's next, right? So you should definitely be training prediction alongside look ahead. Now, if you're talking about inspection, right? Just like as my claims earlier, once you get to that like sub 10 level, that's when you should train inspection. And yeah, but if you're doing this where you have a good idea of prediction during F12, you're probably going to have good prediction during like cross to F12 transition.
Okay, so you don't think that it's necessarily different. If you get good at one, it makes everything else kind of go up at the same time. Just the skill of doing it in inspection is a little bit different because you're not in as constrained. You have more flexibility on the sort of moves you're doing. There's less constraints on it because cross isn't solved yet.
Yeah. Well, I feel like there's 2 different things. If you're good at look ahead and if you're good at F2L prediction, I feel like those are 2 different things. Like, I would say Dylan's good at F2L prediction because he's practiced that a lot, right? But someone who's good at look ahead is only good at looking ahead to their next pair and not predicting what their next pair is. Because if they're good at predicting their next pair, they're probably good at cross plus one.
Okay, when you say like train inspection, right? I assume everyone is doing cross plus. There's no reason not to be doing cross plus one. Like everyone, like at the skill levels that we're probably talking about, like sub 10, they should be doing cross plus one. So when I hear train inspection, I hear like you should be doing second pair, because
Okay.
to me that feels. I'm mainly talking to like Brandon, but like to me that feels for most people kind of fruitless unless their turning is like their limiting factor, because then like yeah, you can access more of your turning if you know 100% what's coming next.
So, what about training yourself to find efficient X crosses that are different from how you would normally do cross and then into your first pair? Because really, really, really efficient X crosses or pseudo X crosses are a completely different skill from solving your cross and then maybe bolting on a slightly modified first F2L pair. So, is there a point where you think that becomes valuable? Because looking at walkthroughs of gang solving, a lot of the stuff he does doesn't even remotely resemble solve an efficient cross and then add on an F2L pair or like modify one move. It's kind of like I'm going to do 2 setup moves at the beginning that seem like they do nothing, but at the end, magically, an X cross has been solved. So that's what I'm thinking of when I say train inspection, is teaching yourself to find those more complex block building style solutions.
Yeah, I mean, there's 2 parts of train inspection, right? And it's depth and then like efficiency slash quality, right? So when I hear most people say train inspection, they're mainly talking about see further, because they say like, now you're not pausing as much. Boom, this is better. Da 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 da. You should be like always aiming to find more efficient solutions, but to a degree, those more efficient solutions become easier to see as your prediction gets better, but it's not solely correlated to that. Like for me, my inspection depth is very poor for where I'm at, and I can still find like pretty efficient X crosses most of the time, assuming it's like 1 or 2 moves away from either like a block already exists, the block is like 1 or 2 moves away from being built. Same with like a pair or something. If that's the case, then I can find an efficient thing. But because my depth isn't that good, let's say like a block or a pair could be made and then turned into something good in like 5 or 6 moves, where it's not like, it's like 5 different faces being turned or something.
Yep.
Then I'm not able to find the idea. But for, like you should still practice these ideas, and then like naturally as your depth gets better, then you find these ideas more consistently.
Okay, so now let me ask you a selfish question, which might be why I've been asking questions in this way. So I've had this in my head, and I've realized I haven't explicitly said this yet. For somebody who's in my shoes, which is pretty typical of like the 11, 10, 9-second person, where they can almost see cross plus one, but not super consistently, for me, I can see suboptimal X crosses or suboptimal cross plus ones really easily. Like my cross never touches this pair that's in the back left of the cube, and it's a really bad first pair, but I know it's going to be there. So I'll solve cross, and then I'll solve like a 14 move first pair because I could see it. Right? Like I can see it, but it's horrible.
What are we doing?
like imagine edge and corner both in slot or something trash like that, right?
Yeah, don't
do that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So then from there, it'd be something like forcing keyhole, where maybe I can do, there's a corner block made and I know where the edge is going to be, and it's like 9 moves to solve a keyhole, sort of like an X cross. And I can see it and I can do it. But there are better first pairs to be had. That's an inspection quality versus depth thing. For someone in my shoes, where it's like sometimes I can see it, sometimes I can't, should the focus be on being able to like track all the different F2L pairs and make a decision on which one to do, or on like efficiently making X crosses out of the pairs that I can track?
Okay, you need one, you need better tracking, right? If your tracking is not good, what I'm hearing is like there's definitely better pairs to be had, but you're not even thinking about them as an option during your cross because one, you haven't done enough solves where you can predict where pieces are going to end up to where you even can say, oh well, when I do this, this is going to end up here, it'll be good, right? Doing
Hmm.
solves, consciously thinking about cross plus one, you will develop an intuition of what pieces are going to end up in good spots
Yeah.
to start. If you want to track all four pairs, like if you need to go through all four pairs and be like, okay, this is up here, this is up here, whatever, that's going to help you kind of build that intuition more. But your tracking ability just needs to get better, and then just force yourself to plan crossless one every time. You'll build that intuition, and you'll just kind of see it more naturally. But there's also a lot of other things to be said, like maybe I always think about crossless one in the context of like I see F2L pieces and then I build a cross around them rather than I do my cross, I track pieces. For most people, that's how it starts, but I also think like mixing in some of that in there as well can help you get your cross plus one your cross plus one percentage up as well.
That's an interesting mindset. How do you think about all this, Caden? Because some of the advice you were giving me a few days ago was like, force yourself to find, 9, 10 move X crosses every single time, which at times feels like it's melting my brain into something that's completely different from what I'm used to, and other times it works.
Yeah, so the 9 to 10 move X crosses, it's really good practice. For you right now, it's not practical because you're just not used to it. It's a really good practice drill, right? Because you're forming these ideas, like as Dylan said. And another thing he said, where you form your cross around a pair, right? Like, let's say you have a free pair, right? You're going to do a different cross solution than the optimal cross solution because then it'll give you a free pair, or you might use an X cross with it. So that's kind of just like the idea, right? If you want to do optimal stuff, like do low move count cross plus ones, you need to do something that benefits like the first pair, something more like that. I don't know. I think that's just kind of mainly my thoughts right there.
Well, yeah, 9 to 10 move X crosses, like that wasn't a thing I started working on. And again, like I'm like an outlier or whatever, so it's like my experience is not entirely the same, but um I didn't start doing that until I was like already pretty much sub six. This was probably like March of this year that I like figured out about the CS Timer X Cross Solver, and I was like, oh, I should do that. But I think like for where you're at, Brandon, if you want, like your tracking is just not good enough to find these ideas every single time. The concepts that you're learning from it are good, but you're never going to be able to put them into practice unless you get like your just basic cross plus one prediction down to start.
You've both used this idea of being an outlier several times. Like Maddie is an outlier because something. I'm an outlier because something. My progression was weird because something. You've both said this about yourself and about other. How do you know that? Like, how do you know that it's something about your wiring versus it's not something about you being lazy? So there are some people who are like, I don't have the spatial reasoning to do inspection. Like, I'm just unusually bad at it. But it might just be that they haven't given it time. And then there's someone like Maddie who's like, I don't know, bro. I just did lots of work and I got better. And it's like, no, you're like really good at this. That like, how have you guys made those judgment calls for yourself? And you're both coaches. How do you tell this about people that you're working with? Where it's like, no, you just need to do more work versus, oh, this is actually a style thing that we should probably lean into.
Yeah, I'll go first. I think anyone can learn any skill given enough time. I would say the main outliers are like Yi Hing's turning. I don't think anyone can develop Yi Hing's turning. Like his turning is just insane. But I do think anyone can develop their turning to a point where they can consistently turn very fast, like 9 to 10 to 11 TPS. Like that is a skill, right? That's not something you're not just like given the gift of turning a cube fast. Like that's not something you're born with. So I think you can literally learn anything. And to tell someone, oh, you're really good at this, when they're averaging 15 all the way down to 10 is bad because you don't really realize you're like an outlier or whatever until you're like really fast. Like I used to think I had really good turning until I became sub 7 and I looked at everyone else's turning and their turning's way better than mine. I'm like, oh shoot, I'm an outlier. But I don't think I'm an outlier. I just don't practice turning as much as I need to. So the past couple months, I've been practicing my turning to become better. And it's not that I'm an outlier, it's just that I'm lazy. So a lot of times, I don't think being an outlier is a thing, like, except for the highest level, like Yiheng's turning. That is definitely an hour. Or Xuan Yigang's ZBLL recognition. I would say that's pretty, like, outlier-ish, I guess. But that also can be learned, maybe not to that level, but very close. So I do think it's something about being lazy and just knowing what to practice. So, yeah.
Okay, I think my definition of outliers may be a little bit different. I think anyone in the top 25 is an outlier. The fact that you even made it there, there's very few people. I was talking to someone about this. I was talking to Ryan Bishop about this actually, Caden.
Oh yeah.
And he was saying who in the top 25 has the least natural aptitude? Because ultimately, when I say outlier, you have a natural aptitude for some skill, right? Whether that be turning. For me, that was my turning. I don't even think you're an outlier until people start telling you these things. Because I remember when I was coming up, I had everyone, like, I was at a comp. Keaton Ellis was there. I like asked to race him in like 2015, and he was like, dude, your turning is crazy. You turn like Lucas Etter, and I averaged like 11. And then, I ended up being one of the fastest turners in the world. So it's like, yeah, that, I think my turning is an outlier. I think I had a natural aptitude for that. Whether that be like I just naturally internalized like how I need to place my hands or whatever. Like there is a level of that can be taught, but your progression in these skills is what makes you like, it's mainly like how fast you're progressing in these things or how quickly you grasp concepts or like your understanding of pattern recognition. Like Maddie's an outlier in all of these avenues, right? The fact that he can just barely do any solves for a few years and then he just can see like 2 pairs or turn at like 16 TPS on camera now. Like those are things that, I'm sorry, they're not going to be taught to you. Like maybe you can get there to a degree, but I don't think everyone is capable of like 11 TPS. Maybe in a vacuum, like on a one-time basis potentially, but like never on a consistent basis. And it hurts to say sometimes because like, I am a coach. I want everyone to get as fast as possible, but like being realistic about some of these things, like I don't think it's going to happen. So yeah, I think an outlier is like in a skill set, either just like your natural aptitude for it, how quickly you're progressing through all of these things. And like everyone that we call an outlier got very fast, very quickly, did not plateau for a long period of time until they were super top level.
Mm-hmm. And I would like to add on to that point. A lot of times it is belief, right? I started learning ZBLL when I averaged 9 seconds, which I don't like learning full ZB. I didn't finish until I averaged 7, so it was a long journey. But I don't recommend that to anyone. I just did that because I thought it would be cool or whatever. And then people would always tell me, dang, your ability to learn lots of algorithms is good. And I don't think I was learning, I was really good at learning algorithms, but I told myself over and over, oh, I'm good at learning algorithms. And people would tell me, I remember one time doing like a ZB and Samir Agrawal at a competition. This was before we were friends. He was like, dang, your ZB knowledge is insane. You must be really good at learning algs. And I just internalized that. I'm like, okay, I'm the guy who's really good at learning algs. So I just kept repeating that to myself. So I became the ZB guy, right? Who just I just learned a lot of algs. And no one ever told me, dang, your turning's good. So I never internalized, oh, I'm the turning guy, right? So that's something about belief is a huge thing in cubing. If you tell yourself something and if someone tells you it enough times, you're going to believe it and you're going to end up doing it. If someone tells you you have good enough turning, the only thing you're going to practice is to improve your turning because you're like, I'm the turning guy. I'm really good at turning. So I think that plays a huge role into it.
Okay, I have a few thoughts here. One, I think sometimes, like I said, people will tell you if you're an outlier. Sometimes people don't know what they're talking about. Like you have to
Yes.
take into account the source of
Yes.
the information, right? It's not everything that someone else says is fact. I would say it's mainly the opposite, right? Like, I mean, when it comes to alg learning, it's like if you're like, oh, I'm the alg guy, whatever. Like, but for me, it was like everyone told me I was the turning guy. Even like in March, Yiheng's mom was watching me solve, and she was like, your turning is good enough. You don't need to worry about it. If my turning's good enough, I shouldn't need to practice it until it becomes my bottleneck, right? I mean, it's gonna naturally improve, but I don't know. I never thought like, oh, I'm the turning guy. I already turned at like 10 TPS. I'm gonna turn at 12 now. No, it was like, hey, I'm the turning guy. My look ahead sucks. They would say your turning's really good. Your look ahead sucks. So like in the same sentence. So yeah, I was like, well, no, I need to fix my look ahead eventually. And then it was like, hey, you look ahead good, but your solutions suck. Like you do this good, but your solution. And so it's like, yeah, it's not like yeah, you don't want to put your eggs in the basket that like is already full, right?
Yeah, I agree with that too.
The source of information thing is the most real thing ever. Like when I'll stream and my chat is like, watching me do 5x5 and they're like, your centers are insane. Your edges suck. This is trash. And then I'll like send a critique to Mark Zimmerman, or Maddie will send me notes on my solves. And they're both like, your edges are extremely good for your speed, but your centers have all kinds of mistakes in it. It's like, well, chat was wrong.
Yeah.
You have to get quality
agree with
advice.
Chat is always wrong.
Yeah,
chat
chat's
sucks. Well, I've heard chat say like, "Hey, you're turning so satisfying." I'm like, "No, it's not. It really isn't. Like, don't lie to me. I know it's not good. So stop lying to me." Like, bruh.
We've talked about turning a little bit, but I want to talk about it much more directly because Dylan used a few different terms in his video to talk about turning in TPS, which is a subject that most people don't really understand. You used the phrase quality turning and the phrase quality TPS and talked about using good grips and having good turning fundamentals. And Caden, you talked about prediction being a TPS determining factor. Dylan, since you just talked about how you're the turning guy, let's start with you. Can you explain the idea of quality turning or quality TPS? Are those the same thing? Are those different? What does that mean?
Yeah, so your TPS is a product of your turning ability, but it literally means your turns per second, right? So like thinking about this in the context of a solve, your TPS is not determined by your actual ability to turn the cube fast or execute algorithms fast. It is determined by your ability to turn consistently over a solve. So, if someone's like, let's say I execute my T-perm at 10 TPS, right? 10 turns per second, which is pretty slow, honestly, like maybe, I don't know, but it's pretty slow. And then let's say I also can solve a cube overall at 10 TPS, right? Like that means that like my peak turning potential is not that high, but I'm accessing it every solve because my other skills are good, right? When I say quality turning, I mean like your fundamentals are good, meaning you're not regripping excessively, meaning you have access to all these different finger tricks. You have a natural aptitude for, let's say another move is happening and you need to regrip, you can regrip during that move happening to prevent time loss. Like there's like net zero time loss regrips that you can do that I like naturally understood, and a lot of other people who are naturally good at turning understand, but some people don't. And then also just like literally just like, can you move your fingers fast? Like just so for real. Also like your accuracy is very important, right? If you're locking up, you lose time. I think like my accuracy is probably one of my biggest things that's like a problem for me, but yeah, those are like pretty much all the aspects of it.
So, Caden, given all of that, do you still think that the biggest factor to Gang turning faster was prediction?
Yes and no. I think there were some external factors that Dylan talked about in the video that which,
That is the worst answer ever.
And no, you can't. Whoa.
Okay, wait. Okay. Hear me out. There were some things I didn't mention in my video that I feel like were more like a given. Like he's getting older, his hands were getting bigger. Dylan mentioned in his video that I was like, oh, well, yeah, but like, whatever. I do think his all right. I do think his prediction getting better, like seeing further in, was a result like of his faster turn speed. But I also do believe that like he did practice outside of turning. So I mean, I think I did believe more of the prediction side, like, oh, he turns fast because his prediction got better. But then after watching Dylan's video, he did like convince me, like, yes, he probably did do more turning drills than I anticipated, I guess. So I would still say his turning got faster from prediction, but I agree with Dylan at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely both, right? Like, I mean, I think it's more a product of him like not being 6 anymore, and like he has bigger hands and can turn the cube more easily. Because when you watch kind of his older stuff, it's like, I don't know, it just feels like he's like kind of stretching a lot, like on all of his turns.
Yeah.
Like it feels very like tense. Now it's like, yeah, he can get these moves done a lot more easily without as much effort. And so, yeah, I think that's more of where it comes from. But like obviously the fact that he's more confident in seeing further allows him to like access his peak TPS more easily but the fact that his TPS has gone up, like I think even if he could do 3 pairs 2 years ago, he's not turning at like 13 TPS, and like I don't think he's doing that. But now he can access 13. So to me that says like it's a turning improvement more so than like an inspection improvement. Even though like he's not going to access 13 every time unless his inspection is better.
Yeah, for sure. And I do think that his hands getting bigger is like one of the biggest like things, because he had good finger tricks when he had small fingers, but
Yeah.
you would see him lock up on certain moves that normal people wouldn't lock up on just because his hands are small. So like, and I understand what you're saying about the stretching thing.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when I was learning piano and I was like 9 or 10 and I had to play pieces that had octaves where your hand has to stretch across a certain number of pieces. It was like I could barely do it, and I had to do so much work just to not make my forearm super tense. And then when I went back and learned similar pieces 5 years later after my growth spurt, it was like I don't even have to think about the things that gave me problems before because my hands can just do these things without any issue. And now I have completely different things that I'm having to think about, like removing stress from a different part of my body or playing at a different speed. So it reminds me of that a lot. Cool. Any other things relating to this whole discussion that you guys want to talk about while we're both, well, all of us are on here?
Nothing's coming to mind at the moment. Oh, I do want to mention this thing. I have been, I guess my opinion on turning has definitely changed. I used to think that it was just something natural, but it is definitely something learned, because I took a video of myself and like I just realized for some reason I know how to double flick obviously with my left hand, but I was very underutilizing it for no reason, and it caused me to do like lots of overworking. And then I just realized, so I've been doing a lot of slow solves where I focus on certain finger tricks that I wouldn't use in my speed solves, which I know these finger tricks, but I don't use them. And I think that's also another thing that Dylan said. Like sometimes this just comes natural. Like that came naturally to Dylan. Using these advanced finger tricks didn't come naturally to me. So sometimes you have to work harder in certain areas to become better at certain things. So I guess that's kind of like the outlier thing. You could say some people are just better at certain things.
Yeah, my biggest thing is like there's really no good avenue to like train turning. Like the only thing we've heard is like do PLO time attack. It's like, bro, like what realistically, like
No.
I mean that helps with like I think it does help to a degree, but there's like other like what? It's literally just like drill out. I mean like I've tried the theory craft of like can we do like plyometrics for our fingers? Like is that possible?
Yeah.
Like can we like physically train our fast twitch fibers in our fingers to be better? And like nothing's really come of this. Like some piano dude tried to do this, I think, and then like his hand like was paralyzed. I don't know, something like that happened. I don't know.
What?
This was in like the 1800s. It was a long time ago. It looked like
Okay,
a little.
yeah.
Besides the point. Yeah, I just I don't know. I think for me, like I've become kind of turning deterministic doomer, I guess, of like if you can't turn, it's kind of cooked for you. If you're not like turning kind of out the womb. I mean like this is like honestly, and I'm planning on making a video about this, but like if I were to like Schwan asked me like, hey, if you had to teach a kid from scratch how to solve a cube, like what are you getting them to do first? I was like, they need to learn how to turn. If they can't turn, it's already GG's. So when I started cubing, like I didn't know how, like I was into cubing for a while before I started actually learning how to solve. And I was doing finger tricks on a Rubik's Cube, like a Rubik's brand, before I could even solve one. Like I was already, and like if you look at, I had my first ever recorded solve on camera. Like my turning, even when I averaged a minute, was pretty good at the time. Like there's signs for that type of stuff. And I don't know, it sucks to say, but we haven't really seen anyone improve their turning to an intense degree yet. Most of the people that can turn good already were able to turn good. The only person I can think of remotely is Timon, where it was always like, I think pandemic, maybe 2019 era, it was like, this kid's got crazy solutions, but his turning's not that good. And now we've seen him hit like 12 a few times, right? 13 maybe when he was doing CFOP, but that is like the only story we have of that happening. So while yes, like you can always improve your turning, I think like there is a physical limit, like kind of by person that will be a limiting factor that sucks to say, but yeah.
Oh, it's total reality. it's how every sport works, is everybody can improve, and rate of improvement is different for everybody, and ceiling is different for everybody, and it's just innate. And nobody argues with that in sport. It's like, yeah, different people's bodies have different limits, and some people can access that limit faster. Some people have higher limits. The same thing is true of the physical skill of turning fast. It's just there are way less people who get to the point where the limit becomes an issue, so we don't talk about it as often.
Yeah, for sure. And also, I mean, I'll bring back up the power of belief. If someone believes they suck at turning, they're not going to believe they can get faster, which they're just not going to get better at turning. So it's like you have to believe that you can get better. And a lot of people, I guess, I feel like it's pretty normal in the community to say turning is just something that you're either good at or you're not. You can't practice. So people are like, oh, I suck at turning. It's just game over. So yeah, it depends on your mindset towards it.
It definitely can be trained, right? But yeah, like
I believe at the highest level, it's definitely, because I don't know if we're ever going to get someone like Yi Hang's turning, like maybe one other person, but like I do believe at the highest level, it's cooked.
probably, yeah.
Dylan just admitted defeat.
Well, I mean, like, no, like, I mean, it's what I'm saying. Like, not everyone can turn like Yi Hang, and like that's still. I mean, some people can get close, but
Yeah,
for sure.
It's funny too because sometimes people will comment on my videos and be like, "He's the next Yi Hang," and it's like I'm not even going to get anywhere remotely close to Yi Hang. Like I will be lucky if I have a like a rank average in the top 100. Like very lucky if I ever get to that point, considering my physical skill. The amount of standard deviations to go from like 50th in the world to first in the world, there's probably 2 or 3 standard deviations of skill, just right there. And so it's at that highest level where the things like that you're saying really matter. One last question for both of you guys is you both agree that the ultimate end game here is one looking 3x3 solves. When do you think somebody will consistently be doing this in competition?
Whew, that's a really good question. I do think that Gang is going to be one of the first people to start pushing towards that, as he has one looked 3x3s at home. Granted, they were with last layer skips, but it still counts. Dude, it's gonna it's gonna take a couple years, I believe so. I don't think we're gonna get consistent until past 2030. But Dylan, what are your thoughts?
well, okay, if Gang like doesn't see the AUF, is he really one looking? Like, did he see that? Did he see? Maybe he saw it was like OLL skip, but did he also see? Oh no, the whole cube is gonna be. Or was he like looking ahead during his inspection process? Right. Yeah. So like, I don't think we've seen a true one look solve. There was no one who inspected a cube and was like, "This is gonna be solved after I do X amount of moves." They had no 100% prediction confirmation. Dude, honestly, like, if it's not, I don't think it's going to happen with Gang until we have a system for predicting ZBLL from ZBLS. It's just never going to happen if that's not the case.
Yeah.
And who's going to work on that system? Oh, and then who's going to take the time to learn it? Like, I don't think it's going to happen for probably, like, and also the level of difficulty going from, cross to F2L.
Oh, it's an unbelievable order of magnitude jump.
And then predicting not only, like, let's say you're doing CFOP, your OLL and then the one look last layer, like, it's like doubling the difficulty, right? So
I would say even more than doubling. It's
way
infinitely
more
hard. It's
way
so
more
hard.
than doubling.
So it's like, is it ever gonna happen? No, not until we have a like system for ZBLS. But like, I would say like 20, maybe 30 years we're getting there.
20, 30 years.
No,
Ooh.
20 to 30 years. Yeah.
20
like,
to 30 years. Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah,
and like,
no.
So like what you said, I just set up a random ZBLS. Like, I don't even know where you would start to predict ZBLL from this position. There's this block, and that's it. If you do this case, it's going to give a last layer skip because that's just what I gave. But like, I don't even know how you could get from there to ZBLL.
Well,
It's just like so hard.
It's the same thing, right? You like if you're learning a base case, right? You look at like it's the same exact idea. You just have to learn the system for all of them.
For all
like,
300 ZBLS cases, and it's like,
yeah,
bruh.
I mean, that would be
wonder
required.
If I just have to wonder if this won't happen, and we'll get to two look consistently.
Oh,
And
two look
then that's
consistently,
it.
we're getting there in like 10 years, maybe 5.
I would say less. I would say less, 100%. Less than.
I mean, like,
less
I
than
mean,
10.
like of like a large population of the top
well,
level
of a large.
doing this.
All right, because Gang is like going to look like next year, like consistently, or maybe even this year. I would say because
Yeah.
he's like doing insane. For general population, I would say 5 years for sure.
I'm
Not like
I'm
general
thinking like
general top level.
yeah. I'm thinking like of the top 10, how many of them are going to Tula consistently? Probably like 5 years. That sounds.
I would say
yeah.
5 years, half of them can look. That would be I would say.
Yeah.
Maddie said something at the end of my talk with him. I forget if it was on camera or not, but he said NA cubing will not progress past its current level to get to top level finals. So he told me the speed that finals are right now is the speed it will stay at because NA cubers will not do the redonkulous amounts of work that it takes to get to like the unbelievable, stupid, ridiculous, inhuman highest level that we're starting to see some of these other training regimens produce. Do you guys agree with that? Like he said, it might go down a fraction of a second or so, but like low 6 is probably where it will sit for the foreseeable future.
To make it into finals. I would love to
Finals,
be
yeah.
optimistic. I would love to be optimistic. I don't think there's enough people that would push. Okay, because I do think the winning average will get faster, right? Because it will. There's going to be a point where we get like some Chinese cuber, like American that's Chinese, like their parents know Chinese and like gets a Chinese cubing coach or something. And then he ends up getting like low 4 in a NAC final or something. But I do think the level to get into finals will probably stay the same because the same like top 16 competitors aren't going to be doing the work as this like Chinese American cuber. So I'm going to say the winning average or the top 3 averages are going to get a lot faster, but to make it to finals might progress a tiny bit.
Okay, I don't think some Chinese American is going to come out the woodworks because the fact that they're Chinese and have access to the Chinese coaches. The reason that there's so many fast people coming out of China is purely a demographics thing. It is a population thing. They have significantly more people in their country, not to mention exponentially more people that even know how to cube. So yes, the people that we see at the top level, they are the outliers among the hundreds of thousands of kids in China that also know how to solve a Rubik's Cube. So we are already really seeing the people that are like extremely naturally talented. I think, I said this like 2024 summer. I said NA has been cooked. NA been cooked. We don't have any young talent. That's the most important thing. I mean, we have like our biggest young guy is Caleb Chen, and he's been that guy since 2024. And it's like, has anyone else popped up that we know of? No, not really. I mean, like what? Eason Peacock was in All Stars. He's like pretty fast and young. Sid Reddy is like from Texas, like low 6, like 14 maybe. Like we have a few kids, but like it's not looking promising. Like when this current generation of NA solvers, because NA is also very old, right? Like look at everyone in All Stars final. They're all people that have been cubing for like probably 10 years or so, maybe like with a few exceptions. So it's entirely dependent on if like the new gens get coaching early on, because I think that's going to be the biggest thing. Like when I talked to a Chinese cuber at Worlds, I will not name, but he said like, dude, he was a coach and he was like, hey, everything you talk about, you're spot on. And I'm like, okay, then why aren't my kids ending up like yours? And he's like, well, it's entirely a parent thing. Is the parent going to force the kid to cube and keep him dedicated? Because believe it or not, 6-year-olds, they don't want to sit down for 3 hours and grind, you know? Shocker. But unless like some culture changes here, or we just have a kid who's like super dedicated, I think we'll see pretty minimal improvement in NA.
Yeah. Phil talked about this with me some, where yes, out of a system that's producing cubers like this, you get a lot of unbelievable star talent. There's also a lot of people that the system spits out the back and are left to die. And like you said, Dylan, it's a demographics thing. There are way more people going through the system. It pushes people way more harder. Therefore, the outliers will be stronger. just mathematically. But also there are a lot of people who we don't hear about, the kids where their family pushes them super hard and they get super aggressive coaching and they don't achieve the crazy heights. And we don't hear about it. We just see the people on top of the rankings. But you're right. So in a sense, it might not even be a bad thing that NA cubing for 3x3 is about at the level that it is. And now we just have to produce a competitive system that is more oriented around regions and championships and less around peak average of all time. Like it might just be the discipline maturing to the point where the competitive system has to change. I don't know.
Yeah. And so I have 3 ways of this going, of NA's like success. And if this doesn't happen, I don't think it will then they'll get faster. 1, I think someone's born and raised in China to the point where they're like 8 or 9, move to America with their parents. I don't know why they would do that, like if they're already living in China, and then they switch their citizenship to American or something, and then they can become fast. Like let's say they're already fast and then switch. That's like a completely random one. That's the only way we could get faster. 2, we have a cuber that's fast now.
That does not count.
That's not
That
us,
does not
bro.
count.
But it could kind of. But okay. So then that, or you have a cuber now who's really fast, and then he grows up and has kids, and then he forces his kid to train like these Chinese cubers. And then the third one is just if the kid's disciplined enough, and the kid's probably not disciplined enough, so we're probably cooked.
That is such an interesting thing because that happens in chess. There are a bunch of stories of chess families where like 2 high-level players married each other and like vowed to raise their children in the way of chess. And they raise these incredible chess players, and it is a family thing. And cubing is such a young sport, we haven't seen that yet. That is kind of interesting.
Hey,
I
Drew
know what
Brads
story you're
just had a
talking about.
kid. Drew Brads
This
just
is
had
true.
a kid. That's
And
all
he
I'm
started
saying.
competing shortly after that again.
GJ Brad's about to be NA's last hope, dude.
Brandon, is that
What?
story from Atomic Habits? I've heard that story somewhere. It's from a book.
There's a lot of families.
There's a
lot
bunch
of
who have
them.
done it. I learned about it back when I was actually like playing chess, but Atomic Habits might have had it in it. I don't know. Anyway, on the Drew Brads is our last hope note. Seems like a reasonably good place to end. Thank you guys so much. This was really fun. Yeah. Where can people find you guys to get coaching?
You can check out Cubing GG. I'll be on there. I do 10-minute, 30-minute, and 1-hour sessions. Whatever one works best for you, just book it, and we'll see you there.
Yeah, you can go to my website, solvewithdylan.com. And then I also post like educational stuff on my YouTube, just Dylan Miller.
Cool.
Oh,
Thanks, guys.
same here. Same here with Caden Lee on YouTube.
Caden Lee as well. There you go.